All right, here we go again. Gentlemen,
Yep.
we go on knee slap. That we all, it's customary that we start with no.
No any slaps here. You
We know,
slap
we
it,
know,
old
Phil.
man.
We know you
Hey.
too posh for that. We know you too posh for that. We know already. We know already. Hey everybody, how you doing? Welcome, welcome, welcome again to another episode of the Living Room. It's indeed always a pleasure to have you here. We hope you're having a fantastic weekend so far, and also a great Sunday. Hope it's not too hot. I've been hearing rumors about how hot it has been in the Caribbean, but let's hope today's a bit cool and we all having a good laid back Sunday today. Welcome. I'm here as usual. It's me, Andre, and I'm here with Mark and Philip. We just get to it. How are we doing, guys?
Doing good.
Yeah,
You
man.
doing good? Doing good?
Yeah,
Excellent.
we're doing all right, I think, anyway.
Philip, careful there with the elephant ears, though, because not that I draw
Oh,
attention to it, but
you need like a bit of a bow or something.
I thought you had a bow in your hair for a second.
Yeah. Not
Yeah.
today. Not today.
No.
Oh,
I thought you had something there. Hey, Cheryl, how you doing? Welcome.
Then move around
How's
a
it
little
going,
bit.
Carmen?
man, I just taking it easy. You know how it is. You know, the nights are closing in.
You know,
The
because
darkness is upon us.
listen, it was a straight to winter this week. Do not pass autumn. That's the
No.
way how I look at it.
Mm.
This week was freezing. Hey, Miriam.
I went
Yeah.
for a walk Friday afternoon. I was like, yo, place quiet. So, yeah, man. But I just
And we
taking
know
it
you
easy.
probably feeling the cold now.
Who, me? Oh, well.
You,
What
you
do you
know,
mean by
Phil,
that?
he want to talk about it. Let talk about it. You know, he probably feeling the cold now. You know, a little bit closer to the bone now. A little bit closer to the.
Listen, for
You're
those
not
of
closer to the bone.
let me just tee this up a little bit, right? Let me tee
Yeah,
this up.
okay.
For those of you who might not have been around here back when we started this show, you know,
So
I,
get a little
I,
piano something behind there for you.
I start eating meat on the 29th of June. So I'm marking my 3-month anniversary this week. So
Yay!
I don't know. I don't know what's wrong with them. You know, meat free for 3 months, but I'm gonna break it this
Hey,
week.
Leah, you gonna break
You
it
know,
this week?
of course, I gotta
So
have
wait,
some
wait, wait,
meat
wait,
this
wait.
week, man.
So
How you
so
gonna
let
break
me
it?
let me understand what 3 months mean for you. At no time at all this 3 months that you call it, you ain't lick some bacon when it finish on the morning.
You got a Bible anywhere around there that you want me to put my hand on?
All right, just again. At no time did you put the
I have a
chicken
Bible on my
gravy,
phone.
the thick
Boy,
chicken
listen,
gravy on the macaroni pie. Hey,
listen.
Heather.
I can speak with absolute confidence and clarity.
Mm.
No meat has passed these lips
Woo.
in 3 months.
You heard him answer. So you feel if I
Wow.
ask Kyle that Kyle will tell me different? No, Chris can tell
No,
me different.
no, man. My household can measure my integrity, man. No
Hey,
meat.
strong
You see,
words, man. Strong
he
words.
gone straight there, but integrity no. He want me stop. He want me stop. He got, he got use a big words though, fella. He got
Yeah,
there,
yeah,
so.
yeah.
But listen,
Let
congrats
me
to them,
ask you
man.
though, man.
Thank
Congrats
you,
to them,
man.
man.
Thank you.
How is it making you feel? That's the
Well, to be
important thing.
well, to be honest, I think the biggest difference I've noticed is in my blood pressure readings, because I guess
Yeah.
most people might not know that I do suffer a little bit with high blood pressure, but
Mm-hmm.
that's the nature of the beast sometimes. And I've noticed a stabilization, so I get in
Okay.
regular 130s now.
As opposed to what it was before.
Well, I was a
'Cause I know you
140.
the off
I
scale.
was, of course. I think that's probably the biggest difference that I've noticed, to be honest, in changing my diet. That it has
Yeah.
regularized and brought down my blood pressure to a level.
You
that
step on the scale.
man, gee, man, why you always gotta lower the tone?
Oh, so this mean for that he might get rid of the meat, but he eating 2 plates now.
You remember when we started and I called you?
He eating he eating 2 plates and enough potato chips, enough Pringles and things to come out.
To compensate.
Nah, man, but it's been a good journey. So I celebrated with some chicken soup this week. So we see how that goes. I'll come back and report.
Oh.
That's a
But
good
listen,
time.
I say congrats. I think it's been great. Myself, I started the whole vegetarian journey in November last year, doing pretty good. I lost around 15.
And as the Beatles would say, you're far away about enough.
No, man, I good. Look at the tone of this skin. Look at the tone. Look at the tone and
That's the right
everything.
thing. That's the right thing.
Look at the tone and everything looking good. Look at that. Look. See, everything good. Look good.
You're right. You're
No,
right.
it's been good. I think it's been good. I've been doing a lot of running. My times have gone a lot faster. I've been running endurance wise, that kind of stuff. So a combination of, getting ready to meet and then increase the exercise and running and gym and that kind of stuff. Yeah, man. Yeah, man. So I'm looking for the next report. I looking for a scale report next time, Mark. Don't come here talking about meeting past you moat and all kind of thing. I looking for a scale. I want something measurable. I want a scale report the next time.
Okay.
All
Okay.
right.
I can get into that.
That's measurable.
I
What's
can
that?
get into that.
Good.
Oh,
It's feeling good.
you feeling good, Mita?
Of
That could
course.
work. That could work. That could work. We could try that. We could try
Or
that.
should
That's
somebody
fine.
say, let you know, Heather?
Feel it like beer meat.
You see all of that muscle that you got, you can probably need that for the COVID marshals when they come knocking at your door down there in
Yeah.
London.
Well, that is very true. We are now on the serious critical watch list now for a second wave of COVID here in London. So yeah. Matter of fact, my office, we were kind of easing back into the office, but this week they've completely put a stop to that and said, nope, back home.
You're easing back out.
Yeah. But that's completely done with now.
But I think we were all expecting that. I mean,
Yeah.
the way things have been, not having a second wave would have been miraculous, honestly.
But yeah, it's all about economy and getting the kids back to school and that kind of stuff. A good friend of mine, daughter has gone to Cardiff University. The very week that Cardiff gone on a strict lockdown. So first year university, and they're told, come, but you can't leave your dorm for the next 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And this is the introduction to university, So that's how dread things are, and she still had to go.
Yeah. I saw some kids up in Manchester complaining about that this week, actually. They're locked down. They don't have any milk. They don't have any bread. They can't come out. And of course, the government is also saying they can't go home for Christmas. So,
Exactly. And I'm hearing that some universities have guards outside the dorms and that kind of stuff to ensure the kids don't leave.
But you see,
Hey,
once again, my issue with the government is they're doing this as though this is something we are doing to you, as opposed to this is something we're doing together. They really need to change how they communicate about this.
Man, why you
that
don't
message is
listen?
kinda lost.
You ain't see Boris Johnson looking for a press secretary. Why you don't try to apply for a job?
Not interested.
I think Phil would do good,
Not
I
interested.
think Phil would do good, man. I think that whole press secretary stuff, you would work that good,
Man, I
man.
would love to see you down there, man.
Yeah,
What?
I'm pretty sure we'll get marked. It'll be all
think
over,
so?
my name will be all over Twitter.
More.
Yep.
Hey, you're telling me. But look, that's where we are right now. What we can do now, we just got to try and write it out. You see other European countries experience the same thing. I think Madrid might get locked down pretty soon. France having the same issues, that kind of stuff. So yes, Heather, I know they're trying to recreate the bubbles and what's not, but we'll see how that works. But that's just the nature where we are. Anything else you check out this week, guys?
Well, I saw the Chinese. Well, not the Chinese. My apologies to the Chinese who might be watching us this afternoon. But anyhow, I saw some British journalists suggesting that the Barbados government is looking to move towards a republic because of pressure from China, which made me smile. I don't know if you caught that particular story.
Yeah, I caught that actually.
It was a specific MP who sort of made the allegation. Conservative MP.
No surprises there then.
It's quite interesting, because one of the things that, especially in conservative circles here, that they argue for a lot is cut the budget of foreign aid, all that kind of stuff. They stand up and they talk about this stuff all the time. Then all of a sudden they behaving as if, Barbados looking to leave the Commonwealth and becoming a republic is a republic.
How dare
it's
you?
some great sin. How dare you? Now this is the same United Kingdom that decided to tell the EU, we don't want anything to do with you.
Yeah,
we want independence, sovereignty,
we can run our
all
own
this
affairs.
But then you tell Barbados, look.
Again, this is putting out some words there for a specific audience, right?
Yeah, of course.
There are certain people there who love to hear things like that. China, the enemy. They're playing that out. That's what.
No.
Because I was reading today, I can't remember her name, the British representative to Latin America and the Caribbean. Her statement.
True, Jeremy.
Her statement has actually been, we need to have a different relationship with Latin America and the Caribbean, not a relationship that's based on our historical connection, but a fresh, new type of engagement, a more modern, contemporary engagement that's not based on colonialism. I thought that's a fascinating report. That's what the British government is really going on. So this little bit of rhetoric that's out there trying to throw up scandal and so on, this is just playing out to a certain part of the electorate. So
I think so, but I also get a little bit wary sometimes when I hear Latin America and the Caribbean in the same sentence.
Oh, it's annoying.
A lot of times what that really means is Latin America with the Caribbean bolted on and often forgotten.
It does, yeah.
So sadly that does prove to be the case sometimes.
Well, look, I am all for us leaving the crown, as Jeremy put it. I all about us leaving it. That will not stop your relationship.
No.
All countries, Trinidad and what's not, all still have a strong relationship. United Kingdom, Dominica, same thing, as well as other republics still have strong relationships. Look, I think I'm all for it. I don't care what they talk about here. They can talk what they want to talk for the audience they want to talk to. So I don't have a problem with that.
Of course. So listen, I know today is World Tourism Day, the 27th of September. So who have we got in the living room today, man?
Well, anyone who's sorry about that, guys. Be careful. Don't worry. Nothing coming through the screen. I get. Nothing coming through the screen. Look, anyone who's followed us for a while have heard us talk a lot about tourism. Also heard about us talking a lot about valuing ourselves as a region, as a people, and even within the confines, so to speak, of this COVID pandemic period, we also talk about, opening up borders for our people to travel and move around and that kind of stuff. During this time as well, we saw what happened with Liat. So therefore, travel across the region has been on a huge topic that people have talked about quite a lot. And honestly, when we looked around, we thought it would be great to find a true Caribbean story within all of this that connects the dots, so to speak, or connects things, so to speak. And we saw a lot in the news interCaribbean. And when we looked around, we saw the story of Lyndon Gardiner. Got it right. Lyndon Gardiner. And to be honest, this was one of those, as we tend to do, guys, we put things out there and go, it would be great if.
It would be great if.
I wonder if. And we just put it out there. And through weeks and weeks of working, it has happened. So it'll be an honor for us to have the founder and the chairman of interCaribbean Airlines, Lyndon Gardiner, in the living room today. And have a good Caribbean conversation. So that's where we are.
No, that's awesome. And you're right. You got to put it out there and do the work, man. Put it out there.
We just put it out there. We just put it out there and stuff. And even as we talked to a few people who were like, oh, that would be great. It would be great to hear that story and just understand what's happening. A lot that's going on regarding interCaribbean travel, regarding the inability to get around easily. Obviously, the anxiety around Liat. Well, we don't know what the full situation there is with that. We won't touch that today either. But, all that kind of stuff came up. So I think this is a really good story to have.
Yeah,
talk about.
And someone who has been carrying an airline for 25 plus years across our region. We got to get that story.
Yeah, I think so. Absolutely. I think so. So I think we should just open the door and let Mr. Gardiner into the living room. What do you guys think?
Bring him in.
Yeah. Oh, just before we do that, guys in the audience, thank you so much for joining us. We see you there. Hit share, get everyone in this conversation, because I truly believe that this is going to be a fascinating conversation, and it's one the entire region should be, want to be a part of. So hit share, bring your friends in, bring your family in, bring your colleagues, whoever in, and just so we can all have a good Caribbean conversation with Lyndon Gardiner. So I'll do that, and I'll bring him right in now.
Awesome. Tag them and tell them come join.
Indeed. Hello, Lyndon.
Hello, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
It's a pleasure to be here with you guys. Thank you for inviting me, and I'm very glad that I can be here to all of our audience and fellow Caribbeaners throughout the entire world. I'm glad you can join us this afternoon as well.
Awesome.
Excellent. Thank you so much for joining us, sir. And taking the time. You're a very busy man. So thank you for taking the time this Sunday afternoon to join us.
And I gather, you know, Sunday afternoons is a time where a lot of people are cooking some fantastic dishes across the Caribbean. And I'm going to just assume that you're probably doing something similar today, Lyndon.
Yes, in fact, I'm the resident chef on Saturday and Sunday.
Really?
And so
Saturday and Sunday.
Yes,
2 days. Whoa, back to back.
My wife never allows me to do anything different. So I've got a few things brewing in the background. So I'm going to come out smiling anyway.
So we can't. Let's say you can't. No. You can't leave that there. Briefly, what's cooking today, man?
What's cooking today is some smoked pork belly.
Oh,
well, I can't touch that. I can't.
You're tempting me. You're tempting me.
And I got some nice Caribbean snappers that we seasoned yesterday. So you know we're gonna do those in the oven with some nice garlic, butter, and onions.
Excellent.
So,
now I know the fishing is great up there. Is this something you caught?
I'd like to tell you.
Not today. Okay, that's all right. That's all right.
When you do red snapper, right? Do you do it whole with the head on, or you bone it and everything? How you do it?
Oh man, the juiciness of a red snapper is being able to eat the head.
Hi.
So
yes.
You know, we do that. We put a little pepper, some allspice, little butter, some okra, and you know, simmer that down at a very low heat for 30-40 minutes, and of course you got to get the pepper, eh?
I can see. Listen, I can see we're gonna have to bring you back here for something special, you know.
Yeah. You understand? And we got to put Turks and Caicos now on the list of countries we need to go do the show live from.
Of course,
once everything open up.
Red snapper and okra. Nice.
Most definitely. Definitely.
So listen, Lyndon, it's a pleasure to have you join us today. And
indeed.
Look, first of all, let's understand who is the man Lyndon Gardiner. First of all, let's start there. Who are you?
Well, I'm just a poor boy from one of the smallest towns in the Turks and Caicos. The island is called North Caicos, and the little town is called Bottle Creek. I grew up. My mom was a school teacher and a cook, and my father was also a school teacher. But he, like you guys, migrated to the UK. Somewhat different, because when he migrated, he didn't take us with him, and he didn't send anything back either.
Okay.
Oh, wow.
One of those.
Yeah, one of those. So my mom had the responsibility of bringing myself and the other 5 of my siblings up. And today, we've all fended for ourselves, got an education. On my side, I was one of the last ones that didn't get access to college or anything like that. My younger siblings, they obviously did.
So you're the oldest in your?
No, I'm not. I'm smack in the middle.
All right.
So
I know what
there's just 2 more behind me. Well, all of us smack in the middle.
Yeah.
There's just 3 ahead of me, and then of course I'm there, and then I've got 2 that are smaller than me.
Okay.
Those are both of the 2 younger ones are lawyers. In fact, my youngest brother is a lawyer with the Bank of England in the UK. And then my other brother, he rattles between law and politics right here in the Turks and Caicos.
Okay.
Wow.
So, I'm going to get into my story eventually, but I didn't intend to be in aviation. I'm going to wait until you ask me that. Then I'm going to tell you the story.
We can get there.
It was coming. So the next one I was going to ask is, what was, early school life like? What was that like? And then how did you get into aviation? But I think you went via finance first. I think were thinking of doing something else first, but school life, and then how did you ended up in aviation?
Well, what I was going to say before I get to that, if you permit me, please.
Yeah, go ahead. By all means.
Aspirations of becoming a physician, and I did quite well in school with my biology, my chemistry, and physics. And but at the time, as you still know, the Turks and Caicos is they use a different word. They call it an overseas territories these days. But in lots of respects, I think they still treat us as a colony. And they had a policy back then that they would not train anything other than maybe a teacher or a policeman. And there were a very small amount of scholarships that were available for people that wanted to get into, say, law or medicine. And so I was not, I was too far down the tendon pole to get a scholarship. And so after leaving school, I got a job at what used to be Barclays Bank, now called First Caribbean. And that's where, I got my start in working. Now, give you a little bit about my days in school, particularly in primary school. We, as in most of the Caribbean families, you had a chore that you had to get up in the morning. Part of our job was to either go to the well. You have this deep hole in the earth, and you have to pull the water out. And we've got our 55-gallon drum back in the yard that you have to fill. So that, and you got to bring another 5 gallons, because if you don't bring enough water to bathe and leave the barrel full, then you go mommy and let you go to school before the barrel full. So I'd have to go and get the barrel full of water. Sometimes we had to go, rumble through the bush, we used to call it, and get some dry wood sticks to basically cook with. And, those were the things that, but I think besides having those as chores and being able to commit to the welfare of the company, or to contribute to the welfare of the company, up to, not of the company, of the household. The value of that was really the discipline, because you had to get up at a certain time in order to be able to get these chores done, in order to be school on time. Because if you didn't get school on time, you'll get 2 beatings. One you'd get from the principal, and then whenever I hear about it, it was a month, a year, 6 years, 10 years down the road, you're still gonna get it.
It's still coming.
I vaguely remember those days.
Oh yeah.
Oh no. So initially biology, you were a physician. Then you went into a bit of banking. Where did the bug for aviation come?
Well, the bug for aviation came while I was in banking. I had a friend who had worked for another bank. Essentially, he invited me to another island, a much bigger island compared to a lot of our islands. He invited me to the Dominican Republic, and I spent some time there. Met a lady that I fell in love with, and I wanted to be able to go and spend time with her. And so the banking wasn't really convenient, because it's a 9-to-5 job from Monday to Friday. At the time, the airplanes left at 10 o'clock on Friday, and it left the Dominican Republic at 12 o'clock on Sunday. So every other Friday I was MIA, not Miami. I was So my boss called me and he said, "Hey, Lyndon, where are you every, twice a month?" And I was like, I'm taking off and I'm, going to chase my love. And he said to me, well, why you can't do that on your off time? I said, because no airplanes are flying. And he says, well, you've got a future in the bank. You need to straighten up and apply yourself. And I said, well, I apply myself Monday to Thursday, and I apply myself very hard. But some Fridays is going to have to be for me. And he says, well, how can we bridge the gap? What we can do to help you out and so on. And I said to him, well, if I had my pilot's license, I would be able to go, fly myself on Friday, so I can wait until the bank is closed.
Oh, my goodness.
This is big stuff. I'm loving this story, right? But my wife is there listening, probably going,
yeah, my wife is also.
So what you do for me?
This man got pilot's license and flying.
I love this story, but my wife going, sorry.
Anyway, go ahead.
So you learned to fly, to travel for love. Wow.
And 6 months later, after I get my pilot's license, my boss called me in, and we're having exactly the same conversation again. He says, you told me if you had your pilot's license, you'd be able to, get to the Dominican Republic, and I'm not expecting you to still have all this time off. I gave you some money to help you get the license. Did you really get the license? And I said, yeah, I got the license. Here's a copy of it. And he says, so what is the problem? I said,
It's a hard problem, boss. It's a hard problem.
You don't have an airplane.
You don't have a hard problem? You don't have an airplane, yeah.
Airplane.
He says, you got to be kidding. What do you mean? Now, you're not expecting me to buy an airplane for you. And I said, no, but I'm certainly expecting you to help me with it.
Nice.
Oh, wow.
So he was a pretty cool guy. He's a guy from, actually from St. Lucia, Victor Eudoxie, if anyone in our audience have heard or know anything about the bank back in those days. So I was able to get a few bucks where they had and buy my airplane. And I began to fly. My brother was actually air traffic controller. So as soon as the bank closed the door, I would bolt out the door, get in my airplane, fly over. And on Sundays, I'd be headed back. And as soon as I land, or as soon as before they switch the light off, I'd be landing. So,
I feel there's some sort of movie in this.
Man, listen.
There's going to be a book one day.
Listen, Trevor told me we have to hear this story, but this is one heck of a story.
Yeah.
Wow.
So,
I love it.
So I went, I got transferred to Provo like you do every time when you move up in the bank. I was working at the branch there. Met a couple of people, and one of the guys I met actually owned a photo studio. And he said to me, there was a Bill Fish tournament the next day. He said to me, Lyndon, why don't you, at that time I'd already moved my fiance to the Turks and Caicos, and we had gotten married. So I wasn't using the airplane as much as I was back then. And he said, well, why don't you take us, to overfly Turtle Cove, which is the marina that all the boats would go out. And he said, you can take the door off this thing. We can fly low and slow, and I can get some really good pictures. And I'll give you something for the gas. So being a young, challenging guy as I was, I said, you take the door off and let's go. We went out. We flew for maybe 30 or 40 minutes and came back. And he says, what do I owe you? And I said, well, I don't know, man. Give me something. And he gave me 500 of the crispest dollars I've ever had in my life.
Wow.
So I looked at $500 and I thought about the 1,122 I was making in the bank after so many years. And I said, this banking stuff, I'm just going to have to give it up. And
okay.
So I gave the banking stuff up and decided that I was going to get into aviation. Back then, in those days, what we did at the airports in Turks and Caicos, Provo was the island that was really Providenciales. We call it Provo for short, or for the tourists we say Provo. Don't hurt your tongue. But we would sit outside like the taxi drivers, and say, "Where are you going? Where are you going? Where are you going?" And whoever had the first numbers of passengers that they were looking for, we'll put them in the airplane, and then we would go. So we started off doing that. Of course, I didn't have a license to do it back then. I had my private pilot's license, but I didn't have an air operator certificate. So coming from one of my trips to North Caicos, there was the guy from the CAA coming to meet the airplane.
Oh, dear.
Said, what do I deserve this? And he said, well, Mr. Gardiner, I believe that you're taking passengers for hire. And I said, I assure you I'm not taking passengers for hire, sir.
Okay.
And he said, well, how about if I ask the passengers themselves whether they get paid? So when I saw him coming, and I know all hell was going to break loose, I told the guys, I said, listen, guys, this is a free ride today. So he came and he asked the lady, and the lady said, well, I didn't pay Lyndon. And she just kept going. And he asked the other guy, and he says, well, he didn't charge me. I don't know if he charges anybody, but he didn't charge me. And then the third guy, who's actually a friend of mine, he just looked at him like he dropped out of Mars. And so the guy came to me and he said, listen, says, we know what you're doing. If we, allow this to happen, you in trouble and we're in trouble. And I said, well, I can understand why I would be in trouble, but why would you be in trouble?
You'd be in trouble.
Because we're from the CAA and people, going to expect us to know what's going on and police it right and ensure that, safety is all taken care of. And I said, well, what am I supposed to do? I'm hungry. I got to make a living. And he says, well, I'll tell you what, why don't you come to me to the office, and I will show you what you need to do to get an AOC, which is an air operator certificate. That's the license. Wow. And I escorted the guy, or he escorted me up there. Wow. And he went through this. He had this book on his desk. I remember like now. It had said anyone's AOC. And so back then they had like a standard manual, and all you do is have to populate all the things that you need that was basically relevant to your operation, which I did. And so I went, did it, submitted it to him after a couple of weeks. And then, of course, as you know, with the beginning of my story, a few months later, hard-headedness, he came out, caught me doing the same thing. He said, man, I'm trying to help you. You can't fly the airplane while I'm trying to help you. And I said to him, well, you didn't tell me that. You told me if you do all this, I'm going to help you get your AOC, but you didn't say while it's happening, you can't fly. So I went through about 6 months where a plane was grounded, and I was, running out of everything, kicked out of my apartment, and yada, yada, yada. And then finally, one day after so many calls and visits and exchange and so on, he called me and he said, Mr. Gardiner, can you bring that airplane over to Grand Turk? And I said, sure. He says, so what for now? He says, well, we have to do an inspection. I said, well, how many inspections can you do on a small plane? So just bring the airplane over. So I flew over there, and as I was coming out of the airplane, I saw him walking towards me, and I could see this. He had this big envelope, fat envelope, in his top pocket, and I was like, well, this guy's going to find me, and I'm going to be in trouble for the rest of my life. And as he, within arm reach of me, he stretched his hand out, reached in his pocket, and he says, congratulations, Mr. Gardiner, here's your AOC. And then Inter-Island, as it was called back in 1992, that is began.
Wow.
What a story. Wow.
That is just, as somebody rightfully said in the comments, all started with love.
Yes.
but through the pain of hardship, you were able to survive and establish Inter-Island. So where did you go from there?
Well, from there, we were flying around the Turks and Caicos for a couple of years. Then I was able to buy a twin-engine plane. And with the twin-engine plane, it meant that we could go further. We could go to Haiti. We can go to Bahamas. I think I would have done 1 or 2 trips as far as St. Martin and Antigua with the airplane. And of course, we did 1 or 2 flights back to the U.S. to get supplies and that kind of stuff.
And was this still you doing the flying yourself?
It was still me doing the flying. Eventually, I hired my brother, who that was another brother. He was a pilot. He decided that he would come and help me out because the truth be told, when I got when I first got the Aztec, as it was, which was a twin-engine airplane, I wasn't twin-engine rated. So he came and helped out during that period while I went back to Fort Lauderdale and got my rating. And once I got the rating and I came home, I think my claim to fame was that people could call me any hour of the night. It didn't matter what the weather was like. I would fly them and take them where they need to go. And whilst some of the other local chaps would be, well, I've already put it in a full day's work. If they call me at midnight, I don't care what time it is. I get up and I go. So fairly soon, I developed a reputation of being, somewhat of a reliable person. And so the business just began to grow. And then later on, I hired another pilot. And eventually, we were doing so much flying. And, I couldn't manage all of that was happening on the ground, dealing with fueling, dealing with all the paperwork, dealing with, payroll and all that stuff. And I decided, I'd leave the flying up to the others. And I was probably about, 7-8 years into it. I'd leave the flying up to the others and concentrate on being the businessman
and growing the business. Yes.
That's like a good move. Well,
but before you go into the business, I saw also and read that you had quite a bad accident when you were younger. That was heavily affected. Yeah.
Yes, in fact, as I told you, I'm a hard-headed guy. I had 2 bad. My first one, I was driving a Ninja 1200, and I was home already asleep, and there was some party going on at one of the hotels, and a friend of mine came and he said, listen, I need you to give me a ride. I said, dude, I'm in my bed sleeping. He says, man, I can't walk that far. And he says, well, you're already up now, so why don't you just take me? So I went ahead and took him. And on the way coming back, I was really upset that I had gotten out of my bed and I wasn't sleeping anymore. And you know, the island there wasn't a whole lot of traffic, and I was just trying to juice that bike out. So when I came down, I was having another function at the Anglican church, and the way the road was, the driver actually came out to make the turn. So when he came out to make the turn, he heard the noise of the motorcycle and saw the lights. So he thought that maybe I would pass on the inside of him. And I thought for sure if I slammed on the brakes, I would skid. But if I kept going, he'd be out of the way by the time I got to him. Right. So I went blasting ahead. And the only thing I remember is everything became completely black. Oh, wow. And when I woke up with my head on a rock. I didn't have a helmet or anything. My head was on a rock and my leg was swollen, very big and hurt me. And I just keep going in and out of consciousness, and they took me from there. But I think, and I believe in God, and I believe in a purpose, right? Because Grand Turk is one of the islands that they used to rake salt on. And so you had a channel, you had a rock here, and then you have a channel where the water is guided, and then you have a rock on the other side. So had I landed crossway, my body was going to be too tall to fit within the channel. So my head would have got slammed on a rock.
Wow.
And I landed, long side. And what is more important than landing long side, I landed long side in low tide, and my head rested on the rock where my body was in the water, but my head was out of the water until people came and obviously pulled me out of there. So that was, and that's where I had a really coming to Jesus moment and know that there was a purpose in my life. Of course, 4 years later, I was riding a Honda 200XR and pretty much, speeding again. I got this time, when I hit, actually in Grand Turk, we have some wild animals. And so there was a pack of animals that I was going to run into. And when they heard the bike and whatnot, some went back, some went ahead, some went in front. And I tried to skirt around them off the road. When I came around the road, I hit a stump. And I tell you one thing, brothers, the only thing I remember is passing the wires on the pole going up.
Ooh. Whoa. You don't remember coming down?
Yeah, I don't remember that at all. I woke up with all kinds of lights and stuff like that. I said, well, at least I made it to heaven this time.
Direct. Are you still writing though after all that?
Actually, I do. And people ask me, including my family, said, "You're sure a daredevil," but I'm just proving that I can ride safely.
Okay.
You can do it safely. Yeah.
So you slow down a bit now.
Absolutely. When you get my age, and
you should be on a Vespa.
C90.
But the second time when you were riding the Honda, you had a helmet on this time, I guess.
No
helmet. Whoa. Let's survive that. Brilliant.
Yeah.
Wow.
So that's why I'm sure I believe I can survive anything.
Wow.
And then was 9/11, and now it's COVID, and I'm going to beat the hell out of COVID.
Wow.
Yeah. I'm with you there.
So listen, go into the business series then. Let's talk about the business series where you had the pilot saying you're looking now to run the business. Talk to us a little bit about that period up to now.
Well, running the business and growing the business particularly from having my background, and this is something that we all face in the Caribbean, and it's something that I don't think we do enough about. Either from a government standpoint and also from those of us that have been successful in business.
Wow.
If you ask me what was and what is the two greatest challenges, that I had to face in the business. The number one challenge would be having the finances to grow the business at a size and at a speed, that you need to, or you are able to.
Yeah.
And then have the human resources bit of things that a lot of times put us a little bit back in life.
Right.
And I was able to, with a little banking experience, particularly was able to manage, and also because I was a pilot, and I had to the first 9 years or 8 years when I was flying, there's a bunch of other things that I did in terms of, I would come out and help the mechanics at the night when I can, start to learn things. And I tell you what, and I see it today, when as a pilot, some of the things that some of the other pilots do, and it's not recklessness, but the equipment don't belong to them, so they're not as gentle on it as I would be as an owner. And I
don't have the same vested interest.
Exactly. One of my greatest things that I can see in life is, on an Aztec, anyone that's flying, it's like a truck. And if you can go, a couple of months without changing the brakes, and I went a half a year without changing the brakes. And that's all down to eventually you get the technique as to how to operate the airplane. And look, the brakes is going to cost me, is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 pads. Each one of those pads is like $60 back then. So you can, you can kind of take care of things a little bit more. But going back to facing some of the challenges and what I think we as successful business people can do, we need to give more. I think governments need to set up, funds that people have, not free money, but set up funds that people can prepare proper business plans for, get access to these funds, but not just give them the money. Have some business, some people that has oversight. Maybe grab me or some other person and say, look, we want you to mentor this new, this young,
a mentorship program or something.
To mentoring and sponsoring together.
Absolutely, and those are the things that I think would be very instrumental in us growing the Caribbean to, where we can grow to our full potential and become more of an independent Caribbean. And let's face it, we don't have the same, and I don't want to sound a certain way, but me and somebody else can have the same proposal and they will get a leg up before I get a leg up. Those are some of the realities that we face in life. So, and I believe that it has to be a government initiative to make money available, but also help people to be successful in their business. And those people would be grateful, in my view. And with the mentoring, they'd be in a position to run the business efficiently, effectively, make money, and pay the money back, so that the younger people coming up will now have access to those same funds to move forward with their ideas and grow their businesses.
So, Lyndon, you said there were two challenges. One was raising the initial finance, and then the second one you said was the human resource side of thing. I'm interested in that a bit more. So as you develop the business, did you start to come up with like certain values or perspective of the type of culture you wanted for the business?
Yes.
And what were those underlying values that you?
I think the underlying value that we have in our business is that what it is that we sell time. So it's quite important that we are able to deliver our services in a timely manner. But also we sell warmth and friendliness of our Caribbean spirit. And so, I wanted all of my employees to buy into that vision of the warmth of the Caribbean spirit, and provide the services, with that warm spirit.
No, with you there. So just sorry, go ahead, Phil, if you have a follow-up.
No, it wasn't fun. I said that's really good. Just wondering how you went about doing that. Because I was going to say earlier as well, I found in a lot of your story, the thing that came through for me is you seem to be a very relational type of guy, and a lot of the moves that you've made, getting your first plane, getting the funding for that, well, the whole purpose for you getting the flight as well was based on relationships. Did you find that part of your character helped with establishing that culture with the business?
Yes, absolutely. One of the things that I say, I don't know where it came from, but I've been saying it for 35, 40 years. I say to people, for instance, after we've had a conversation, I would say, well, God bless you.
Yeah.
Or one of the other things that I would say is, and I'm just trying to think it because sometimes you say these things just kind of automatically. But I think, I've been very fortunate in my life. There's no reason why, growing up in one of the poorest villages and most backward village in the Turks and Caicos, going to school barefooted, that I should be where I am today. I deserve it for the hard work, don't get me wrong. But, there's a lot of us that simply did not have or don't have opportunities like that. Or don't have the character to embrace those opportunities. These days I see myself almost like an older statesman, where I mentor a few people even at home, and I think by just getting me on forums like this and telling my story can resonate with people and give people hope that they can chase their dream and be successful in it. Because if I can do it, right? So why can't they? And I think a lot of my beliefs and my character comes off from me without me forcing it on people.
Absolutely, got it.
I'm able to relate to all my staff. In fact, I have a complete open door policy where I speak to them, and my mom always said to us, and I found this very true, is that you can learn a lot from a child. Because you may be in my position, it doesn't mean why you don't listen to someone. And listening to someone, you may not hear what they're telling you, but you may hear something else that is good for you.
That's a good point.
Put everything in context. It's I think it's quite wonderful if you leave yourself the opening where people can approach you, and you can interact with people the way I do.
No, that's great. You've come through some adversity with the accidents and what's not. With the business, was there ever times that things hit that you felt we're not going to survive this, or you felt like giving up, and what kept you going?
Well, I think that's a very good question, and I've had many of days that I've been really very close, particularly in the first 15 years of business. Finances was always a struggle. I can tell you, within 2 years of being in business, I practically ran out of money and didn't have the credit, because part of the story I was leaving to put in my book was when I left the bank, my manager was upset with me, so he seized all the money in my account to go towards.
Really?
Whoa.
And so it wasn't that same guy, it was someone else at the time.
I really want to read this book now, to be honest with you. I really got to read this book.
If you want someone to write the music for you, I could do that too.
So, I was left, quite frankly, with $50. And a lot of people would have said, okay, well, let me go buy a beer for that $50. And then what I did, I got a ride to the airport and I put the $50 gas in my plane, because I said, if I had any opportunity of making any more money, it would be with my airplane.
It's flying.
And if I didn't have the fuel to take people anywhere, then I wasn't going to do anything. But I said that to basically say that, of course, that was a challenge. Getting a second multi-engine airplane was a challenge. I saved up and was able to buy the airplane. And then when I was so excited to buy the airplane, I didn't do my job properly in making sure that it was technically sound. And once I put it into the shop for an inspection, I found all sorts of things that was wrong with the airplane and that needed to be fixed. And of course, I didn't have the money back then. So the only thing I did was we had a program back in the Turks and Caicos back in the 90s that you can apply for land from the government. They value it. They charge you 10% of the valuation for it. And then you'll get a freehold title to it. You could just start the building and then they will give you a freehold title to it. So what I did was I applied for my little piece of land, and obviously you got to coax everybody in government to try and get your name on the top of the list. Got my name on the top of the list, got a little grant granted to me, and started the thing. And I took my only $20,000 I had between me and the deficit I was going to have for that airplane when it's finished. And I decided to strike the ground and begin to build something. And the whole idea was so that I can go to the bank and get a little mortgage on it and get the money to be able to pay the government their money so I can get the freehold title to it. Well, I was able to strike the ground, get a few things done, got the government people in. They saw that, yep, this is a real development. This guy is building his house. Got the bank to agree that they were going to lend me. Back then, what happened was the government sold me the land for, I believe, $11,000. But the land was on a was waterfront, and it was valued $80,000 off the bat. So it means I could go in and borrow $40,000.
Yeah.
So so that was certainly something that I used to my advantage to be able to, get some money, be able to pay for my airplane to be fixed, and then the airplane paid to build a house. And then there were other things, such as when I was trying to get a schedule license back then, it was not as flexible as it is now, because the government had too much control and people weren't in the mood to have competitors, and whoever the people were, they could kind of find a way to stall it. So it took me about 2.5 years before I got a schedule license of application and chasing it and making it happen.
Wow.
And of course, 9/11 was another very, very tough moment for us, because shortly before 9/11, I had borrowed some money to build an FBO, and you guys would know an FBO is it's like a private terminal facility. So I had built this facility and getting ready to open it, and then 9/11 hit, and got all this flying. No one's flying, and how the hell am I going to pay for all this back? But I think God has been kind and merciful, and I think He saw the purpose that I had, and I certainly wasn't going to give up. I mean, my mom, she would always tell us. She says, if you can't go over it, go under it. If you can't go under it, go around it. She says, take 2 steps back, build up your power, and bust it down.
And push it over there. Exactly.
I was just going to ask, because you talked about mentoring, but sounds as though your mom might have been your mentor. But did you have another mentor as well in business that kept you going? Because I was thinking, if I got into those situations, I probably would have taken the money and done something else with it. But did you have a
you just
mentor
send applications?
Exactly.
Well, it's very tempting to do that, and in fact, a lot of us young people, particularly in the Caribbean, once we begin to make some money, we see a lot of success, and before we actually achieve any real success, we take the little success that we have and we squander it. We want to buy a Mercedes Benz so everyone can see us driving a nice car and know that we're important and know that our business is growing. And so we take away capital from the business that we should leave in the business to help the business to grow. And this is why I say mentoring is one of the things that we have to instill, or we as successful people has to put back in to our younger Caribbean people, because being young, it's very, very, very tempting, and it takes a lot of self-discipline to say, I'm going to invest this money in my business, and I don't need to drive a Mercedes Benz, but I'm going down the road in a Toyota. It can take me at the same time, at the same speed.
Absolutely.
And it's going to cost me so much less.
But you're building a legacy, rather than just short-term gains.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And so, my other mentor has been my brother, who passed away sadly, several years ago. And I think my mother has been the force that has always strengthened me in terms of keep going.
Yeah.
But my brother has really been the moral compass, because being in business and facing some of the challenge that you have being in the Caribbean, it's tempting to fall off the rail and be all for yourself.
Yes.
And be unscrupulous, do a lot of things that business people sometimes do to be successful. But my brother would always remind me of, listen, this is where you come from. This is what mommy would say. This is what mommy would like to do. And I found that those were some really good grounding things for me as an individual. Because I remembered we were doing a flight to my island, and the business had gotten very slow. And I decided, you know what, I'm not making any money from this, and I'm going to cut the flight out. And I did. And my brother was on a trip, and he came back and he found out that there was no flights going. And he said, what do you mean you cut the flight? So we're not making any money going to North Caicos, so we're going to have to cut the flight. And he says, well, how do you expect cousin Susan Cox to get her stuff for a little restaurant? And I said, well, I don't care about cousin Susan Cox. And that's the lady that had the little restaurant and the little bar that would come to Provo to buy her little supplies and take them home. And I said, well, I can't be expected to subsidize her.
Yeah.
And he said to me, he says, but you making money flying to Grand Turk? And I said, yeah. And he says, and you making money flying to Haiti? And I said, yeah. And he says, so what is it to give a few dollars to these people who needs it and can't afford it? She can't go to Provo in a boat.
Yeah.
Right. And so, the next day, needless to say, the flight was on. And God works things in a mysterious way, because it was a little lull, and afterwards things pick up on that route, where within a month I was no longer subsidizing it.
Wow.
But had I listened to my own self,
yes,
I would have forgotten about it.
Yeah.
A lot of people would have been inconvenienced, hurt, or taken some kind of a toll. But I think my brother, being the kind of person he was, he said, look, what is it if you take money that you're making on all these other things you're doing? Help these other people.
It's very interesting listening to that, because sometimes we are almost discouraged when it comes to family and business, and sometimes you don't often hear very good, warm stories. But that is so deep, the way that your brother got around you to encourage you to look afresh. And I suppose that is the advice that we really want to put out to young people who might be listening in business, or who might be having a difficult time. It's really important to have the right people around you and be taking good, strong, solid advice.
Yeah.
No, and that's true. And I think one of the other things that we make, particularly people that are successful, and and I don't consider myself as a successful person, but God's been very kind to me, is what I will say. But a lot of times we find that family and friends, they want to take advantage. They want to be on the bandwagon of that success. And so they don't point out things that you do wrong, and that they should say, you know what, you should go in a different direction.
Yeah.
And they pat you on the back and says, you're doing a good job, keep going, and this and that and the other. And then once the thing gets off the rail, and you realize, you say, well, no one saw that this was going off the rail and stopped me and say, listen, you need to change course. And that's very important, that we have the personality that allows people to do it. And B, it is important that we have strong family members and strong friends that can stand up to us and say, listen, I'm telling you this for your own good. I'm not telling you this because I don't want to see you be successful. But I know if you go down this road, even if I don't take your advice, that person has a clear conscience to say, look, I saw Lyndon was going to do something. I saw he was going to end up in the ditch. And so I advise him, not to go that way.
Wow.
Yeah, true. And I'm sorry, but
Now you've warmed me up. This 1 hour is not going to be enough.
Well, I was going to say, you sound like you're warm up there now. That's right. And in general, we talk about business a little bit of the journey. We're in a period here now with this pandemic and COVID and what's not. How's business and how are you doing? How are you coping? How's your family and your colleagues and your and your employees? How is everybody doing?
Well, I think in terms of safety from the COVID, I think everyone is just doing well. I think we've had very few cases of COVID within our well, none in my immediate family, and only a few in my company or my work family, and all of them have recovered. Thank God for that. In terms of the business, business across, aviation business across the border, not generating a whole lot of cash now. I think the moves that we're making are long-term investment moves. Certainly, as you've seen in the last couple of months, we've started a hub in Barbados.
I was going to ask you about that.
Yes, into Barbados. I think we've received a tremendous amount of support. And I don't believe all of the support that we've received is only because people have a lot less choices. I think people, a lot of people didn't know about us, but once they found that, look, these guys have been around for 28 plus years. These guys are operating to 27 cities. I mean, in the heyday before COVID, we were doing an average of 65 to 70 flights per day, right? And so, we've got operational stuff down to the science, and we have operated. We haven't had any safety violations or accidents in our 28 plus year history. And God, as I said, knock on wood, God has been very kind to us, because accidents does happen, but I think it's up to the operators to ensure that they have the procedures and the policy in place to mitigate as much as possible anything, God forbid, happening. And so, I don't want to get into what my numbers are, but what I will say is that we certainly could do better. The Caribbean people has supported us, and I'm very thankful for that support. There's been support from our staff who has agreed, certain formulas that we've had to present so that it can help to protect the cash of the company and keep it going as an ongoing concern. And my family has been very supportive, that allowed me to spend some of our reserve that I otherwise would not have done. So, I think it's been very good. We certainly are very optimistic about the future. I think the Caribbean is going to be one of the first regions that sees tourism. People love the Caribbean, particularly the people from North America. Even if you're coming to Toronto and going to Barbados, it's only a 4.5 hour flight. And anywhere in between is a lot less. So I think we're going to see as people feel comfortable, they may not feel comfortable to get on an airplane for 9 or 10 hours and go to Europe or Africa or the Middle East or something like that. But they can certainly feel comfortable in flying, 3 to 4 hours and get to the Caribbean. And know that particularly, and I think we're fortunate in the English Caribbean, that we speak English, so it's a language that they know and understand. And a lot of us, even if we don't have the US dollars, our currency, we have some kind of a POS system where it's easy.
Yes, it's kind of easy to convert.
And we do accept a credit card. So it makes it easy. And guys, I mean, we all know this for a fact. Every Caribbean island has their own little nuances about it.
Of course.
That people can find, what they like.
Yes.
Our job as an airline and connecting with the 27 cities is actually to offer more of the Caribbean. So while you may take your favorite JetBlue flight into Kingston, Jamaica, or Montego Bay, you can fly with us from Montego Bay up to Santo Domingo, for instance. And right now, our services stretches from Barbados in the east to Havana in the west. And so you can get in between all of those islands. And what a lot of people are doing is they're having multi-destination vacations. So they may fly with their favorite JetBlue into Montego Bay, and they will leave with JetBlue out of Santo Domingo, but they will get between Montego Bay and Santo Domingo with us. That is, I think, what the value that we bring to the to traveling in the Caribbean. And it's not as simple as that. I mean, we as Caribbean people travel for a number of reasons. We have families on other islands. We have to work on other islands because the particular thing me may want to do is not available at home. You know, we have a granny or aunt that lives somewhere else that may be sick. We have a fete that we want to go to this, you know, this weekend or something like that.
We have love.
We have love that, you know, we're going to be able to spend some time with. So there's a lot of reasons why we have to travel. And of course, what I'm seeing on our flights is there's a lot of Caribbean business people that are traveling from some of the more developed Caribbean islands, particularly some of the producing islands in terms of maybe food, maybe textiles and other things that they're traveling and promoting their businesses to be able to help it grow. And I think our whole integration movement is going to be benefited from having an effective, efficient, and an affordable way of transporting people by air, because that boat stuff is not going to work in the long term.
Fantastic. And look, I mean, I wanted to remind our audience just what that interCaribbean route map looks like, because you go across the Caribbean to multiple cities, and I think it's important that people recognize that there's the opportunity. You know, you can connect into the hubs and you can go around the region, and I think that is what you say in your values, you know, connecting you with the Caribbean. That's what you're all about.
That's correct. I also tell the truth when I say that only the sun covers the Caribbean better than we do, and only the sea goes to more shores.
I didn't catch that last bit. Only the sea does what? Goes far?
Only the sea goes to more shores.
Hey.
Oh, I like that. I like that. But even thinking about that interconnectivity, I mean, in all of our shows, you know, we have a very, from a national perspective, a very diverse audience who's always saying, we would love to go to this country, that country. I think last week, Mark, we put out something and people were talking about all the islands they would love to visit. Yeah. And it's always two things, connection and costs. I wonder if you can, you know, interCaribbean, I know it's a great airline. How is it helping to break those two things down?
Well, I mean, we are helping to break it. I'll tell you that, because number one, as a Caribbean business and someone that has grown, you know, a son of the soil, as we say, on our various islands. And look, this is a long-term project for me and for the company. It's not something that we're trying to get rich overnight, because that's not going to happen. And so I mean, what we've done is we've gotten into the markets, you know, with reasonable prices, and why we're able to do that is, you know, the choice of our equipment has a lot to do with it. The fact that we're doing more of a hub and spoke to people, and we're crisscrossing people from one hub to another hub that allows the fanning out of these people to be done in an efficient and a cost-effective way. And we are, you know, we have the selling as also as a promotional machinery in place, because you can be in Timbuktu and you can buy a ticket on our airline. So, and that is great access. And how does that, you know, that translate into obviously more sales? We're offering a service that basically people need, because I'll give you an example again. We weren't doing flights between Santo Domingo and Jamaica. And these are not my favorite islands. All of my islands are the favorite, right? So these are my two favorite islands. But we were doing, when we started that, you know, everyone said, I don't think you're going to get people doing it. And we're, you know, before COVID, we're up to 5 days a week, chock-a-block on all the flights. But when you consider that we would get you there in 1 hour and 40 minutes versus 9 hours over Miami or 7 hours over Panama. And, the airlines are not going to take you over Miami and Panama for free. They're charging you money to do that. So I'm taking you on a direct route and I'm taking you for half the cost, right? So you build a following, and then once you get the following, you get enough people going to make it worthwhile. And that's how you grow it. Now, I've got some other ambitions for the airline, and that is that we cement our position as a true pan-Caribbean airline. And pan is probably not a good word to use these days with the pandemic.
Yes.
But we're the only airline that, and even before COVID, we flew to more cities than Liet. I know you mentioned Liet, but we had twice as many airplanes as Liet, and we fly twice as many cities as they did. And really and truly, my legacy is to create aviation connections for the entire Caribbean. Wow. And once in creating those connections, we also create job opportunities for people, training opportunities, employment and career opportunities, right? And all of these things are going to be done by us, for us.
Yeah.
That's great.
No, I think that's a fantastic vision. And listen, when you do write the book, right?
No, when you finish it, you start writing already. When you finish it.
We want to be able to have some of those chapters read here in the living room, because your story is tremendous, and it is.
Yeah,
I think listening to you, it gives me a lot of encouragement, and it gives me a lot of hope to know. Look at what Lyndon Gardiner has been through. Look at the depths, because it's the depths that I was really listening for, where you've come back from, and look at how you've gone on and made such a tremendous impact across the region. Beautiful.
Well, before and I realize, I'm also mindful on time, because one of the things we sell is time in an airline. But thank you very much for all of the very good comments. But I didn't do it by myself.
Of course not.
My employees had a tremendous amount of work and heavy lifting. I think they have bought into my vision.
Yeah.
They've supported me, some of them, as we say here, tooth and nail.
Yeah.
And they are the ones that truly deserve the pat on the back.
Yeah.
Because I have the ideas, and I'm only one man, and I can't do so much things. But I've got people I can say, listen, this is what I want to do. Now run with it.
Yeah.
And you have the relationship with them. They believe in you. They take it off and they own it as their own personal little thing, and they make it happen. And that's what I think any successful company needs. Is you need the employees fully engaged, fully supportive of what the vision and the mission is.
Wow. This is leadership.
Wow.
Tremendous. Yeah, very good.
Tremendous.
Very good. So one question for you here. I don't want to be controversial at all, but I got to ask. You probably had loads of discussions in the last few months or so about connecting the region. But if, Ralph Gonzalez, Prime Minister Gonzalez comes to you and say, what do you need to make this easier? What do you need? People want to travel. What do you need? What would you ask for?
I'll tell Prime Minister Gonzalez, cut the taxes. And it's I don't want to sound controversial. But I think
this is the living room. You can sound however you want to sound. That's all right.
I think
it's just us.
Government has made commitments, and they've spoken about cutting taxes, but they really haven't done it. And in order for us, and I think what they do is they look at airport taxes. That are supposed to go for keeping and maintaining the infrastructure. And doing infrastructural development, but they see it as another cash cow for the general economy.
Yeah.
And they don't look at the hospital that way. They don't look at the school that way. They don't look at the roads that way. And they need to. There's certain basic infrastructure that a country needs, and you've got to get it, and the government has got to pay for it. It's got to come from the general consolidated fund.
Yeah.
And the fact that they want to charge these exorbitant fees for airport charges and are getting away with it and have gotten away with it for so long I think they really need to realign their thinking with it. Wow. Because I believe, and I think there's numerous studies that have shown that if taxes are lower, it would increase travel, and in the long term, you would benefit more. But I think what is also important is if you look at some of these airports, the departure taxes or the airport taxes and fees amounts to twice the tickets. And if you got a family of 4, for instance, on one of the islands that I wouldn't name, you're looking at $400. So $400 with me and my 6 and 7 year old child, or 12 or 14-year-old child, can pay for one more night in Dominica, or one more night in Barbados, or one more night in Jamaica. Yeah. Right. And in that one more night, what am I going to do? Yeah. I'm going to pay for the hotel. Yeah. I'm going to have 4 meals. More money in the economy. I'm going to. So you get so much more. True. Into the economy than just $140 a person that you're squeezing out for the tax. And I think at some stage they're going to have to realize it, and they're going to have to look. I liked what the UK had done a few years back, and I've been supporting this for those that are saying, well, we don't want to give any breaks on taxes, which is you have a zone. Everyone knows that. We have, and I'm sorry, guys, you're in the UK, so this was apply to you. That's all right. On the bill. I didn't, you told me to say what I want to say. Talk your talk. Say what you want to say. Having a 2-tier tax system where people from outside of the region pay one fee, and people from inside of the region pays another fee. And I believe that in many of our countries we undervalue the need for our own people to move around and to have a rate that they can live with. Now, someone coming from outside the region may have saved up for 6 months to do a trip, and they're coming on a holiday. They more than likely have more of a disposable income. But my God, why am I going to tax you to leave Barbados and go and see your grandmother in Trinidad? You're not going there because you want to go. You're going there because you have to go. You have to go. True. If you can go and see your grandmother more times, she enjoys it. You enjoy it. And the money gets moved from Barbados to Trinidad, and the Trinidad circulates within the region. And it's spread around the region. And I think that is the way that they need to look at it and see it. Right. And we have to stop trying to suppress, and I believe that helps to suppress development within our own region. Oh yeah, I agree. What we need to do is we need to do anything that we can to facilitate this integration, to facilitate this movement, to facilitate Caribbean tourism in the Caribbean. Yes, we've been saying that for a long time. We've been saying that all the time. And the funny thing is that as we travel around, chances are a lot of the time we might go stay at family or friends. So, but then we spend quite a lot of money in the economy. People from outside stay at hotels that are extra regional, that are repatriating quite a lot of money back outside the region. So there's a lot that you allow us to travel around that will redound to the benefit to the economy at probably a greater rate. Yes. Absolutely, totally agree. So my message to Prime Minister Gonzalez is we need lower taxes. Fantastic. He might be listening. Lyndon, we want to thank you so much, and our audience, thank you guys for staying with us. We know you're a busy guy. We know you've got the pork belly on, and the family's waiting for the snapper as well. Just a final word to young entrepreneurs who just starting out, might be in a bit of a hump right now because of the period that's going on. A final word for them? Well, my final word for them is, never give up on your dreams. I can tell you when, and this is one small story. When I was had the idea of doing the FBO, I was in a bank, so I knew what to expect in a business proposal. And I went ahead and prepared a business proposal, and I knocked on, I believe it was 106 doors. And every one of them said, no, it's not time for it. No, the island's too small. No, they find a million reasons why they couldn't help me with it. And one day I was another bank, but one day I was flying the the guy that was supposed to be the country manager for CIBC. And he just picked a charter, and I didn't have a pilot, and so I decided I'd fly him. And he said, "Well, I want you to wait in Grand Turk for me. That's the seat of government where everything went." And when he came back, I asked him, "Well, how was his meeting?" And he said the meeting went very well. And I said, "Well, what are you doing?" And he said, "Well, I'm here to set up a bank." And I said, "Well, if you set up a bank, then I need to be your poster child customer." And he said, "Yeah, you can do that." And I said, "Well, I need a few bucks." He said, "Well, how much money do you need?" I said, "Well, I need about $1 million to, finish my hangar and do other things." And he says, "You got it." And we, in the end, we end up making the deal. But I guess what I'm saying is 106 people with a good proposal that you knew. I knew it was good because, part of my job in the bank was to dissect proposals and see what was not going to go right. Okay. Right. So I knew what to look for. I knew what they were looking for. And I had a good proposal, not because it was mine, but I did have a good proposal. And all these people said no. So a lot of times when you think that you're at the end of the line, it's just now when the door is going to swing open. So you have to stay focused, and you have to believe in yourself, and you have to keep going.
Wow. Excellent.
Keep going.
Excellent. I love that.
Excellent.
I love that.
No, that's fantastic. Thank you. And you want to wrap up, Mark? You want to?
Well, all I was going to say is a huge thank you, Mr. Gardiner. It's been a pleasure, and you've motivated us, and I'm sure you've motivated those who've been watching in our audience today. And I know you're going to come back.
Well, you promised me that one day we're going to have one of the living room sessions in the Turks and Caicos. So
absolutely,
you can't come here and invite me into the living room. In fact, you will be into my living room.
Exactly.
Yes, exactly.
I like this. It's in the diary. It's in the diary. We can't wait. Look, thank you so much for taking the time. It's been an amazing conversation. Thank you so much. And we wish you and your family and your business well, and all your employees as well.
Well, thank you very much again for having me. And those of you that have an opportunity to fly in the Caribbean, please give me a support.
Yeah.
Well, I have a feeling after hearing your story, there'll be plenty of people doing that.
For sure.
I don't think that would be an issue at all for many of our audience. But thank you so much, Lyndon. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you very much. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Yeah.
What a guy.
Wow. What a guy. And to our audience, don't go anywhere because it's very different today. We got a second segment coming up. But let's just discuss this first. Fantastic conversation, guys.
Oh, what a guy. What a guy. I just feel so motivated and inspired.
You want to go buy a plane, right?
For love, man. For love.
The fascinating thing about that is he was, in retrospect, just saying the story, I bought a plane. I was like, is it that easy?
He had me there for 2 years.
I got a twin jet.
I just used to fly to Dominican Republic on a Fridays, every couple of weeks.
Just to see this girl, just like catching the maxi taxi down from Pierreville down the bridge down, But I think
Mark used to walk through the canes to.
Man, don't tell up my secrets. Don't tell up my secrets.
And our audience might think I joking when I say burn down. That's a story. We can tell it one day. I'm not even lying. Mark would burn down the canes.
Fire starter. But anyway, that's one of you. That's coming a little bit later.
No, but I think Mark Ray, who was he made a comment and he was saying, love has been the golden thread all the way through. Mm-hmm. Different types of love, whether it be agape or eros or what have you. Love has been the gap, the golden thread all the way through, and it's just an amazing story. And I'm really glad he took us up and we aim high to get him on, and he came on.
He came on.
He landed well.
He used big words there, Phil. Good grammar there.
Eros and agape and all this.
Oh, yeah. Filio, is it? Is what's going?
Fair enough.
I learned a little bit in school. So, Mark, two sessions today. Tell our audience what we're going to talk about next.
Well, look, thanks to Lyndon, and we've got another session this afternoon, and this is a really, really important one. So, I had some students in the Caribbean get in touch this week, and I'm sure many of you would have been reading about this drama around CXC and results. And, talking to the team, we felt actually this is a living room story. This is a story that we need to talk about. We have to get our young people in because when we have things that are affecting people across the Caribbean and they want to talk about them, the living room is the place to do it. And from listening to our young people, I felt this is something that is, I don't know if our audience recognize the issues. In fact, I'll read what one of them sent to me this week. She said, look, my results left me devastated. Preparing and making sacrifices to complete exams in a pandemic isn't easy. I prepared myself for 5 years, and the grades I received showed differently. My SBA grades were perfect, and I was confident all exams because this year all papers were repeated from previous years. And with studying and revising, I knew almost everything. I expected better, and I'm left confused and worried about my acceptance into sixth form and college. Those are the type of things that our young people are dealing with at this time. So we reached out, and some of them have responded.
No, I think, and I think it's important as well, before we get them in, that we get the voices of the young people. Because far too often, sometimes in these conversations, we talk to teachers, we talk to principals, we talk to, as we like to term it, officialdom, whether it be people at the CXC or ministry, people that are working at the ministry and what's not. But I think it's important to hear the voice of the people impacted, and those are young people, and listen to hear, what it is they're going through. So that's what we did. So we got a Joshua from Barbados, and then we also have Adela from Trinidad as well. And these two young people will tell us their stories as to how they're impacted and their colleagues are impacted and what they are doing to try to, to help themselves, yes, but to help others as well. So we're going to bring Joshua in first. So Adela's going to join us in a minute. Hey, Joshua.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone.
How are you doing?
I'm good. How are y'all doing?
We're doing good. We know you were there in the background listening to some of that conversation as well to Lyndon Gardiner. Did you find it interesting?
Yes, it was interesting. His growth through all the years, where he came from, where he is now, and how much he would have persevered over the years. That was truly inspirational.
Excellent. And no, because now you're going through something yourself. And you've got to continue to persevere. Adela is going to join us, everyone, in a minute. Just a few technical issues, but she'll join us in a second. Tell us a little bit about yourself, Joshua.
So my name is Joshua Desir. I am 18 years old.
I remember that.
I remember them days, boy.
I go to school at Harrison College in Barbados. I'm a science student. I love the sciences. At Harrison College, I serve as a senior prefect there, and I think one of my most important things, and I would say, is a part of me is service. I serve as the Key Club Caribbean Atlantic District Chair. District Governor, of the Caribbean Atlantic District of Key Club. So yeah, that's me.
Wow.
Okay. Which sciences are you doing at Harrison College?
So I'm doing chemistry, biology, and physics. All of it.
Okay, all three. Okay.
All three. Excellent. Adele, welcome to yourself. Adela, welcome. Tell us a little bit about yourself before we jump into the conversation.
Okay. Well, I'm 18 years old. I attend St. Francois Girls College, and I am doing modern studies. So I'm doing literature, geography, sociology, and history.
Wow.
Wow.
It's a lot there.
Well, listen, it's great to have both of you, and welcome. And for people who don't understand, Adela, let's first of all start with what is the issue with CXC and the grades this year? Let's start there.
All right. Well, the issue with CXC and the grades this year are several. Issue number one is that at the last minute, CXC changed the exam format. And this was in the middle of several schools being online because of the quarantine in respective islands. And then they did not indicate how the papers would be weighted. And then they decided, instead of taking a sample of IAs and SBAs as usual, they would be taking all the IAs and the samples all the IAs as samples, and they would moderate everyone's internal assessment. And now people have received examination results that don't reflect their IA marks nor their ability.
Wow. Wow. So, Josh, similarly, is that the same thing that is being reflected across in Barbados with you and other students on the island?
Oh yeah, so what Adela would have mentioned is consistent throughout the Caribbean. It's the same thing that would be for us as well. Yes.
Interesting. So, Adela, you've taken to social media to gather the Caribbean students. Tell everyone a little bit of what you've been doing and the response you've been seeing from across the region.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so basically what happened is that I was talking to a friend Wednesday night, and then it just dawned on me in that moment, it's like, wait, this really happened? Like, so what we decided to do, was let us call into CXC tomorrow, which would have been Thursday, to find out what's going on. Then I was like, we should make an Instagram page for this. We should find out if this is the theme throughout the Caribbean. We should get other people to join in and call as well. So we created an Instagram page. The handle is Justice for Cape Students. Justice for Cape _2020. Right? And what we did on Thursday and Fridays, every 15 minutes we had someone calling into CXC. Of course, many times we were ignored. Sometimes we were hung up on.
So you had people from across the region doing this? Students from across the region doing it every 15 minutes?
Every 15 minutes.
Wow.
Yes. The secretary's voice at the start of the day versus the end of the day was just fed up.
Wow. But what was what kind of response did you get in those calls?
All right. Well, when we did get an answer, she put us on to the head of PR, and they basically told us that there are no issues. They don't know what people are talking about, and they're not going to be addressing anything.
Oh, wow. So they said there are no issues.
No issues.
That's
we
the head
asked
of
them
PR.
on several occasions. No issues. And after that, we just started calling even more. And anytime we heard anything from another island or a teacher telling us stuff, we would ask the question. And then the secretary would be like, that's a very serious allegation. I don't know what you're talking about. And then she would hang up or something.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh,
wow. And Joshua, what's the organization been like in Barbados?
Well, I know we also have an Instagram page. We have many different social media group chats, especially on WhatsApp. Coming together, we have students from across the world as well. Ours is action.against.cxc on Instagram.
Okay, we're going to have to put that up. Yeah. No, go ahead.
And then we have also been having physical protests. So I know on Friday we had a protest, and tomorrow we're looking to get back into the action, let them hear our voices and know that we will not be silenced.
Wow.
So tell it. So go ahead, Mark.
No, you carry on.
No, I was going to say, Joshua, tell us what's happened and how is it impacting you and your colleagues? Why are you so passionate about what's happening? What's the impact? What are you feeling as students?
When we look at the input that we have given to these examinations, the time and dedication that students have put in for their studies to achieve their results, and then we look at the output and what they have received, we know that something is wrong. The marks are not reflected of the grades and the efforts of the student body, and that is the main problem. And there's so many different challenges that the marks actually pose. To list them all, I can't.
No, but give us some of them, because I think it's really important.
It's important for people to understand.
Of course. So let me start with the mental health. One thing that I am very, very passionate about is students' mental health. Making sure that everyone takes care of themselves and knows the importance of self-care.
So
We have just come out of a pandemic. Mental health is something that persons have struggled with throughout the pandemic. Being locked up, I can personally tell you I probably know every single speck of my ceiling. Being locked up in my room for 2 months. So coming out of that, no social interaction, then having to study in that environment, then to do examinations. To then these examination results tear you apart. There are persons that are struggling there mentally. But outside of that, we look at how it impacts our education. For me as a lower sixer, I must attain specific grades to get into upper six at my school. I must attain specific grades to get a scholarship in my country. And I know my peers and a lot of us have fallen short from receiving national awards because these results are not reflective of our grades. And then beyond that, it would mean that some of us could be thrown out of school if the results are actually accurate. But for upper sixers now that are looking towards university, and also lower sixers that are applying, like myself and my friends that would want to do med and would be applying to through UCAS, the UCAS deadline is October 1st. And we want to go to schools like Oxford and Cambridge, those schools that expect high academic records. Such schools looking at 3s and 4s, 2s without A's.
Don't even bother.
Don't bother.
They don't even bother. Just throw our applications aside. It's just a waste of time. So outside of that, it really is disheartening to students to see that these are the results that we're receiving.
Indeed. I saw someone mention that they were hoping to see the QC students from Guyana. I got to say, we did try, but we weren't able to get someone on. So we did try to get someone from Guyana on as well today. And Adela, similar issue with Grace, because you would have just been finishing to go to university. What was your expected or and then what were you given, and how has that impacted you?
Well, the same day that we would have gotten our CAPE results earlier that morning, I got an email from ULaw, the University of Law in England, because they would have visited our school earlier this year to get the emails for prospective students to email us when applications are open, etc. And well, the deadline is October 1st. And I was all excited, I was like, I'll reply later, when I have my certificate, I know my grades, I was expecting to open it and see 5 ones.
Because your predicted grades meant you would have gotten in.
Yeah. My IE marks were along that line, and then I was very prepared for the multiple choice. So when I opened and I saw my results, I was like, well, I can't apply to ULaw with these grades. They're not going to take me in. I mean, I'm very grateful that I was able to pass all of my subjects. But at the same time, now my options are severely limited, and that is not fair.
I was going to ask as well, because these students are doing a lot to get the activism going and the protests going. How are your teachers and parents sort of getting involved? Are they
supporting?
Are they also supporting you in that?
Go, Joshua.
I can definitely say that my school, obviously, can't give definitive answers for all the schools in Barbados.
But I can, just from your perspective, your experience.
I can speak for Harrison College to say that this has the Harrison College family rally together. Our parents are there right behind us, supporting us, understanding how we feel. And I can tell you that some of our parents probably are in worse states than us. They are there.
Imagine.
I know the feeling.
The Caribbean lifestyle. Yeah. Your parents opening those grades. They don't know that everybody regionally is having the same problem.
Listen, a couple of us here have got some real experience in that.
I won't bother to tell you all my grades at CSC, but yes, I understand that.
There's a space and time there where you have to explain what's going on before you're out to the door. Our parents are feeling what we're feeling as well. But for in terms of our school and our school's administration, I know our school's administration has really rallied behind us to let us know like they are supporting us. They know what the school stands for, what the school has seen it in previous years, and something is wrong, that we feel this way, and something is wrong that generally that the grades that they're seeing are not reflective of our efforts. So our school, in terms of our principal, she has met with our parents, and they have liaison to see the path that the school can take, the path that the parents and students can take, and what is the procedures and all of the protocols that we can do. So for this time, I would also mention that my school has provided teachers and counselors that we could talk to or interact with. Because
that's important.
as I said, this is also very much so on our mental health. So I would say for Harrison College, we have come together. I know all of us feel the same way as students, and we are rallying together to try to get a reasonable solution.
Adela, what about yourself in Trinidad?
Well, as for my school has been extremely supportive. It was one of the teachers at my school who would have organized the interview for me with the Newsday yesterday.
Yesterday, I saw that.
And yeah, so our school has been very, very supportive in trying to console us first and foremost. Because,
of course, yeah.
And as well as our movement, we are taking legal action against CXC. We cannot disclose too much information to the public, but our school has been forthcoming with the information that we need. So, and well, in terms of parents from our school and parents from schools all across the country and the region are also being very supportive in terms of this course of action that our movement is taking. So the support from parents and teachers has been great.
Wow. That's fantastic. And your group is obviously across the region now. What are people in other countries telling you, Adela?
Right. Well, we have received information from students from Jamaica and students from Grenada, and essentially, in the case of like students from Jamaica, some of them, told us that they have been rejected from universities they would have gotten into the Unit 1 marks, but because of their Unit 2 marks, they have been rejected, and that is not fair. That's not okay. We need these things to be addressed because, there are students who, told us they got close to total in their internal assessments and they got 7s. They failed the subject. That's not possible. Mathematically, it's not possible.
Yeah, you can't fall that far.
So I've been hearing about students being or listed as not done the exam or not present or absent.
Ungraded.
Or ungraded. Tell us a little bit about that, because that seemed to be a real issue that's brewing also, Joshua.
For sure, I can attest to that. I hail from one of those schools that would have had the displeasure of seeing ungraded on their sheets. So some of my friends, when we joke around, trying to make a little fun of the situation and say, our marks, I know one of my fellow senior professors would said, at least you have 4 marks to look at. I'm looking at 3. That's actually a real life situation. SBAs have been sent in, worked tirelessly on. Students turned up to examinations, knew that they would have done their best and came up with good multiple choice marks, and opened up their results to see ungraded. I believe that a whole class at my school would have received ungraded, and that is just not possible. So for me, it really is difficult to think that some of my friends are in that situation, and CXC's response to us is pay for a query, pay for a review. Or
how much is it? How much is payment for a review or query?
Payment for a query is I believe $30 US dollars. And beyond
per subject?
that, per subject. And beyond that,
okay.
I know persons may say, some persons that is lightweight for them. But I look at it holistically as a Caribbean region. Barbados here, I know we just pay $40 per sitting. We could be sitting 16 or we could be sitting 2. It's $40. In countries like Guyana and so on overseas, they pay per subject. They have to pay per subject. coming out of a pandemic also. So many persons have lost jobs. So many parents are struggling financially, trying to get back on their feet. So when we think about CXC just saying, pay for a query, to me, there is a bit of insensitivity in that situation.
There is.
It really seems as though CXC lacked some compassion.
Oh,
yeah.
Wow,
absolutely. Absolutely.
And just right there. Yeah.
I was going to ask just to clarify what ungraded might mean. And I only asked because, my CXC days, it was
you don't have one of them, or you CXC?
I nearly had what they call an NA, but
and you was present.
And I was present. So I just want people to understand, because there could be some people who not in the know might say, well, ungraded normally mean they did that badly. So if you did badly, you got ungraded. But clearly what you said, an entire class getting ungraded is never going to happen. So ungraded generally means what? You were late and therefore they didn't grade it. What does that mean?
So I think there are different situations that you can get ungraded in. But if your SB or IA is not sent in, if it's not marked by CXC, you automatically get an ungraded. Although the SBA is only worth, in some instances, 20 or 30%, once you don't send in that component, you receive an ungraded. An ungraded could also mean that the standard of work that you have sent in is of such low quality that CXC has deemed it ungraded. Ungradable. There's nothing there to grade. There's nothing there to say that even you failed with a 7. So I would go out on a limb to say that.
You're rubbing it in there, Joshua, though, a little bit.
So let's understand this issue. Is this the same in Trinidad as well, Adela, and from what you've been hearing from elsewhere? This issue about ungraded?
Yes, and not just ungraded. There is a school where the entire class was marked absent for a compulsory subject such as mathematics.
Absent?
I mean, who misses mathematics? And the entire school absent for mathematics. And that is like, why would the entire school miss the mathematics exam? That did not happen. When you sit an exam, you have to sign a receipt, right? And the children have their receipt saying that they were present for the exam. There is evidence that they were present for the exam. And the fact that CXC is making children pay for what they should already know is absurd.
I think I saw someone just put a comment saying for reviews of absence and what was it, ungraded that you might have it free. I'm not sure if that's the case. I don't know if that's what you've been hearing or.
Yeah, that is the case. What Mrs. St. Hill would have just said, CXC would be. The queries about absent and ungraded would be free, but in terms of anything else, they would be expecting to pay the $30 US.
Okay, but I think that speaks to what both of you are talking about, speaks to something systemic have obviously gone wrong at CXC this year. To have the amount of ungraded, whole classes saying absent despite having the receipts, the grades coming down. Has there, beforehand, were you told or has there been any transparency that things might be a little different from a grading perspective?
Yes, I heard from people who would be marking CXC scripts and stuff that they changed the rubric for the internal assessment and the SB components. And they would have changed this rubric without indicating the teachers, without indicating this to the teachers at the school. So therefore, our teachers would have prepared us with work for the rubric that they have. So what we sent into CXC didn't meet the criteria of the new rubric. So obviously we would have been marked down, but that is not fair because we were prepared for something else. So you cannot now mark us on a different criteria. Obviously that is not what we have submitted.
No, this is really turning out to be a significant matter, actually. So let's try to understand, because we talk about results, we talk about the issues. Joshua, what's the big ambition that you're driving towards that is really underpinning your determination to fight this matter? Where are you trying to get to?
Well, personally, I will want to become a doctor. I want to study overseas. Besides that, I want to receive a Barbados National Award. Because that also would help with funding. And take costs away from my parents, and also allow me to go overseas, find a university. I was looking at Great Britain to pursue my medical studies. And because of obviously the marks that would have returned, those dreams are obviously thrown out based on the marks that I would have received.
Wow. So it's completely changed your trajectory. Because of what's happening at the moment.
It has. It's very much so a cloud of uncertainty. I know that everyone shares my a lot of persons share my same story in terms of not knowing where next to turn, and it is really something that I know has us a little baffled.
Yeah.
I'm gonna ask a question here, which I don't know if there's gonna be a right answer to it, but amongst the student body, are there some students who've actually come up better than expected? Is there that inconsistency as well?
I can definitely say that students have.
They're the ones that are keeping quiet.
Are you coming out to protest today? I'm okay.
No, I good.
So tell me about that, because that does shine that there's a real, as Andre said, a systemic inconsistency. As well.
I would say, this is not me being prejudiced towards anyone, but being in a class of persons, I know who is going
to... You get to know them.
Come on,
so it is like, you get what?
I know some friends, my friends would have looked at some person and say, "You got that? That would all be mine." That's mine. That you took.
That happens.
There are some cases where the marks are just inconsistent with the persons. We're trying to figure out, where did you get that mark from? It's
very hard.
It's slightly hard. My friends, we are convinced that just like how lotto numbers are chosen, CXC may have probably done something like that with our marks.
A bit of a lovely there.
Adele, I see you not in the way there on that. Go ahead.
Well, I mean, it's just like absolutely bizarre because as soon as I got my results, right, I called. Well, most of my other friends are doing the sciences. I only have like one other friend who would be doing like the same subjects as myself. So as soon as I got my results, I called her and I was like, "Yo, what did you get?" And then we basically got the same results in our subjects. I'm just doing one more than her, so one of mine would have been different. But the others, we got the same results. So I was like, this doesn't make sense though. And then we found out that other people would have done better than us. And I was like, wait, what? Because on the instant, I got her, when she told me her results, I was like, cool, well, the two of us, we did bad. So like everybody else probably did bad too, right? So to find out that, people who weren't working people who would have received probably lower IA marks than us and stuff did better. It was like, that's not real.
Yeah. And the fact they're not even trying to share a process or, that they use some kind of logic of some kind, irrational though it may be, the fact that they're not sharing that they did something like that, that makes it all the more like, what's going on?
Or just apologize first and foremost. Apologize first and foremost. then say, this is the process that we've tried. This is what the algorithm look like.
That's the word.
Algorithm. That's the word I was looking for.
That's the word.
It has failed. Right?
I do think CXC probably is having a problem, probably accepting the fact that accepting this error may cause a blow on their end. The registrar and chief executive officer would have said, that they have seen no issues. They have got no reports of issues in his press conference. And that just took me back a little bit. I understand that there's an official way to do something, and I understand that he may be trying to say that nobody has officially sent in correspondence, but this was after the Honorable Minister of Education in Barbados, the Honorable Sandra Bradshaw, put a public call for a review of the grading process. So I knew that there was a definite call from Barbados. To me, it was just a little bit insensitive for him to act as though the CXC officers don't live in the Caribbean, don't read our news.
I said disingenuous.
Yes. you need to go and have a word with the receptionist.
Yeah,
exactly.
This is not right.
So listen, I want to just go back, Adele, because we Joshua said he wants to move towards medicine. What about yourself? What's the ambition for you?
Well, the ambition for me, yes, to do law. That's
Law.
my ambition. So, I mean, at least I was not affected to the extent where that can no longer be a reality, and I'm grateful. So even if whatever bizarre algorithm CXC used, this is the results that it has produced, I can eventually I'll become content with it, and then I would be able to move forward. But I mean, for some of my classmates, that is not the case. They cannot get into university. The option is not there because I mean, my family would still be able to afford for me to go to university once I get in, and I can get in with my grades, just not top-notch university. Yeah. So I am fortunate enough to be in this position, but there are others who are not. And that is where my concern is. That is my goal and my ambition. For me, this is not a personal thing or a personal issue. It is for the hundreds. In fact, over 1,000 students have now contacted us being dissatisfied. So this is for the thousands of students who were done unjustly by CXC.
Yeah, and that's admirable because it means you're fighting a cause that's bigger than yourself. And even though personally you might have different avenues and options, it's still a fight worth fighting personally for you and putting yourself out there. So that's admirable that you're doing that.
Yeah. So what last word would you like to say to your colleagues and fellow students across the Caribbean? Let me start with you, Joshua, and even CXC if they're watching. Finally,
hope they are.
I have a feeling they are.
I think what I want to, everyone knows that, we live in a capitalist world where if you go into a store and you buy something and it malfunctions, you carry it back. You buy a blender, it's not what you paid for, you carry it back. There are mechanisms throughout countries for that. In Barbados, we have the Fair Trading Commission. We have them that they would facilitate that process to make sure that everything, you're satisfied with the product that you have bought and you get what you have paid for with your money. With the same thing, this is CXC. We have paid to do these exams, and although we are students, being that we are paying, we are customers. And that means to CXC also, we expect a high level of service from them and one that clearly and without bias shows our efforts and lauds us where we should be lauded. Obviously, reprimand us in our marks where we should be reprimanded when we get answers wrong, but in everything is clear and transparent. And I would encourage all of my friends and all of those regional students out there to don't fault in your efforts for success. And don't fault in our efforts to get answers. Normally as Caribbean people, after a few 3 days, we let things pass. But we cannot do that. This is our futures, and we cannot let this organization toy with our futures. But what we must ensure is that in everything we do, we maintain integrity and humility and respect, because this is beyond us. This is a regional organization with trained professionals, and although we want to seek answers, we must still do it respectfully.
That sounds good.
Agree. Well said. Well said.
Well said. And finally, to yourself, Adela, what similarly would you like to say to your colleagues and fellow students, and even CXC?
Well, first of all, I would start with what I would say to CXC is that, I mean, you all need to admit what it is that you all did. I honestly have no idea how anyone at CXC is even getting sleep at night, knowing that they have ruined people's lives. Like, they genuinely have. And I mean, it should not, they cannot get away with this. It is not an option for them to get away with it because they have done something wrong. To my fellow students, I know this is a hard time for us. And to be very honest, I just urge you to take care of yourself and your mental health. Because, I mean, to have extended all that energy for the longest school term on record, right? And then to get these disappointing grades, it is going to take a toll on you. And I really just want everyone to take care of their mental health because, I mean, if there is no you, then there's nothing we can do, you know? And I would like to say that our movement will continue to be calling CXC. We will continue to be asking them questions, no matter how annoyed they get with us. We will continue to ask them questions. We will not cease, we will not desist until they do the right thing, because that's all we are asking. We are asking them to do the right thing, and they owe that to us at least.
Well, that's great. Guys, I'll be honest with you. The way you guys just spoke just now, I can tell you straight, you got a fan and be global here.
Absolutely.
And we'll be out there battling for you. So we won't let up either.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much for coming through to talk about what is a really important issue that is facing so many of our young people right now. And we want to keep in touch just to make sure that you keep that pressure on. Don't give in. Just keep the pressure on, because this is too important for your futures.
Exactly. So reach out anytime to us if you think something has happened, there's a bit of development, and you want to get the message out there. Reach out, and we'll have you want to help you spread that message about. You got our support 100% on this one.
So thank you so much.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
No problem.
No, anytime. Thanks, guys.
No problem. Can I give one shout out to another young person before we sum up, guys? I just want to say a huge thank you to Shantae in Jamaica, and her Instagram is CXC. You mash up my life. Shantae was very instrumental in helping me to get around the students in the Caribbean to come tell their story. So thank you so much, Shantae. I really appreciate it.
No, I think that's important to say, because we were looking to get more students on from other countries and islands as well. It's just that everyone wasn't in a situation where they can make it. Like Shantae was one, and we did look to QC in Guyana also, because I saw what's happening there, and I saw the Minister of Education being extremely forceful with CXC. And we tried to get someone from Guyana to come on as well, but we weren't able to make it happen. That said, I don't think at all there's any mistaking where the young people are at on this.
Them sound like they could feel it, huh? Come on.
Honestly, as both of them were talking, I was thinking back to when I was in fifth form and going, would I be doing this? And be so articulate. And I was known as somebody that liked talking. But I was like, would I be able to do...
Good point.
Would I be able to do that? You know, and I really, hats off to these guys for coming on and just articulating their position. And I think they have valid points all around, and there need to be some answers there.
Yeah, it's good to see that the schools and parents are also supporting them as well. Because I was a little wary that, maybe the schools are going to go down the official route and say, well, something has gone wrong, and we just have to see the process through. But you know what? That everyone is rising up and saying, no, something has not just gone wrong; it has failed.
Yes, but I'll be honest, I didn't think that, because I'll tell you why. We had some educators on a couple of times, and if there's one thing I've realized, is just how passionate they are about their students. And if they see an injustice happening, it goes far beyond the reputation of the school. It's, these are my kids.
Personally.
I know what they've done, and it becomes very personal to our teachers.
As well,
And to add to what they were saying, and just to connect a few dots there that they were talking about, you know, Joshua was talking about applying to the UK to do medicine, and the same thing with Adela coming here to the University of Law. The UK, as you guys know, had a similar issue with the GCSEs and the A levels, but you know, after a bit they had to correct it. But it's actually created a problem for a few years to come, as you guys know, where they accepted students, rejected students. Then when they changed the grades, the rejected students were then accepted but deferred. So what we in a case here with guys who want to come to the UK, but now things are a bit in a mess.
Yeah.
The UK is dealing with their own mess, and if in their mind, the guys in the Caribbean are coming with doubt, with issues, with something that's not clear. The one thing that's happened during this COVID period is that people have started looking out for themselves first. Right. And it will adversely impact our students for a couple of years, because so many people have had to defer university here that next year universities are already full before applications are out.
Yeah.
So it's this huge issue that's going to happen for our kids who were able to take their places.
I think so. And CXC has to recognize that it cannot create a pain point for our young people to come out of the region to then have them up against, they will be starting against obstacles anyway when you're an international student. It is tough. So we don't need an additional pain point put in the way of these young people. So I really hope that they will look again and try and recognize that something isn't right here.
Yeah, like how Joshua put it, they are the customers, because it looks as though the CXC is saying, let's protect the institution. Let's protect the reputation of the reputation is gone already.
Long time.
They don't recognize that. And the more you hold on to this protectionist mentality, the more that reputation is going to degrade. So they really need to change.
It's almost like a perfect storm of issues, from the ungraded to the absence, to the reduction of grades, to the increase of grades, to the, it's just a perfect storm of issues, which tells you clearly something has gone wrong.
But to come out and say that you don't know of any issues, I mean, come on, man. That is just insulting.
It is very insulting. But, as we said, we're going to support these guys as much as we can using our platform to ensure that their message gets out there. And we had a laugh earlier, Mark, because when we told the guys to share on Facebook, they look at us and go, "On what?
Facebook? What's Facebook?" But we had to say to them, look, it is all right. It is all right for you. It is all right for you young people to be talking amongst yourselves on Instagram and TikTok and stuff. But you have to take the discussion elsewhere where other people and adults can understand what
where the decision makers are.
Absolutely. Don't just talk amongst yourselves.
And they're not on TikTok, but it hit home to me because my daughter this week, I was like, she informed me that no one uses Facebook, and no one in her class has a Facebook account, and she doesn't want one. So don't worry about that, Daddy, because no one's on that. So to hear it reaffirmed today when you were talking to the guys, I was like, oh, so I really am old.
Yeah. But we don't mind that.
We don't mind that. We don't mind that.
The other day we asked Adrian, you finished your homework? She said, yeah. And then Nicole asked, did Daddy check it, or did you bring it to me to check? She said, yeah, I wouldn't understand it anyway. I was like, what?
And she in first form.
That is a slap and a half.
But was she lying?
No.
That is the issue. Was she lying? But look, guys, I thought it was a fantastic show today. I mean, from Lyndon Gardiner just telling his story. What an amazing story to hear.
What a guy, man.
I mean, from where he's come from to where he is. And coming out of this COVID period, I have a feeling that story is only going to get bigger and bigger. So he might need to, slow down on writing the book, because I think some huge chapters are going to be coming after this COVID period, and definitely, if it was on Amazon to pre-order, I'll be there.
Yeah,
definitely.
Yeah,
I think the nice thing with his story as well, it wasn't just about himself. Everything was about the relationships he had around him.
Yeah,
and that's what we're seeing even with the students with Joshua and Adela when they came on. It's not about themselves. It's about the relationships around them. It's about the bigger picture as well.
Agreed.
So it's really good to see we got that story in an established businessman like Lyndon Gardiner, and also with these students fighting a real cause as well.
Absolutely.
No, indeed. I thought that was great. And, are we going to stay with these guys and help them fight this fight with CXC, help them get their message out there to as many people as possible? Because something needs to be corrected there. The impact is too great right across the region for people just to bury their heads or just to be given the answer, nothing is wrong, carry on. Nothing to see here. We're going to make that happen.
Beautiful.
And to our audience, thank you so much for staying with us for the past 2 hours. As usual, I say it all the time, but I really do mean it. We do not take it for granted, your support. You hit share, you hit like, you join in the conversations, you put comments on. We do not take it for granted at all. But we want to thank you so much for joining us here in the living room again today. Have a fantastic weekend. During the week, we'll be posting a whole bunch of stuff as well, and to keep the communication going, because we are a community and we want to do that, and we are making the Caribbean smaller. So thank you so much for joining us. Have a good one.
See you.
Yeah, man.
Mark Burnout kids?
You never hear that story?
No.
You thought I was joking?